I'm just messing with y'all. Hey, how you doing? Welcome to another broadcast right here on the Cyber Journeys channel. So glad to have you guys here. Today is going to be a very important topic. You know, I would think all of them are, but this one, you're definitely going to want to stick around and listen to this. We're going to be talking about this whole age of AI, but the dark side of it, and why you, as someone of a different hue, need to be paying attention. Okay, we're going to get into that. So we're going to give people just a few moments to get in and get in the house and take your seat, and we're going to be starting here momentarily. All right, about another 30 seconds. About another 30 seconds, we'll be starting here. All right, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you again so much for tuning in to this broadcast. And as always, I really appreciate you guys being here. And today is Tuesday, June the 3rd, 2025. And we're looking at 92 degrees here in the beautiful sunny state of Arizona. And I don't know where it is where you are, but I hope it's wonderful. And you're doing all the things that you need to get done for today. And most importantly, getting outside, getting some fresh air and sunlight. And big shout out, of course, to our people in the chat that are coming in the house. We got Willie in the house. We got Owen in the house. We got Diamande in the house and others that are coming in as well. So, yeah, so like I said, today we're going to I would like to think that all the broadcasts that we do, has some level of importance. But this one here, I'm going to really need you to make sure that you're paying close attention to. I got some other things I'm be showing on the screen and all of that to make sure we keep it all interesting and everything. But we're going to be talking about what I would consider the dark side. I mean, literally of AI technology. If you follow this platform, when it comes to using AI technology as it pertains to like ChatGPT or anything like that, artwork, music, or whatever, that's one thing. Okay. It does have its own issues that we discuss about, in some level of detail here. Of course, there's other platforms that go into it in much greater detail. But all in all, these are tools that help you to do the things you need to do, to make things more efficient and all of that. But like I've always said, I've never, ever, ever, ever trust the internet like that. The internet is not my friend or buddy, or my pal or anything like that, my confidant. I do make sure that, I'm taking great care and thinking twice, even 3 times, if not more, of anything at all I put on my computers. And that's even digitize, even things I digitize, I take, I think, I take some time to really consider, okay, would I be okay with this getting online? And Someone floated something that was quite interesting. I don't know if you guys have thought of this or not, but have you noticed, for those of you who are old enough, you have, like, if you take some time, do a Google image search on fashion in the 1950s, then do another Google image search on fashion in the 60s, then do another one on fashion in the 1970s. And I want you to do a comparison between the three. You notice it's like a huge, significant difference with these different fashion styles. I mean, it just seems like it's worlds apart between the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s, right? Now, we're talking a period of 30 years, right? Now, let's just say 1960s, all of 1960s, and all of 1970s, right? We're going to leave the 1950s out. So we're going to say the 60s and the 70s. All right. When you look at the fashion and even, some things even on television, it still looks like there's this world of difference, right? So now we're only talking about a period of 2 decades, which 20 years. Now, we're in 2025 right now, right? Now, if you go back 2025, let's go back 20 years. Now, I want you to think about, or even you can do a Google image search on this and look at the fashion styles from 2020 to 2025. And you're going to notice something. The fashion styles really aren't that different. They're not, it doesn't really stand out as being anything that different, does it? When you really think about it. And someone pointed this out. It's a name for this, but the causes of this, what people are saying is what's a main contributor to this is the internet, because the internet, back in the day, they didn't have that. So it took time for trends and different things. Well, we can just roll back a little bit more. Mankind, for the most part, when it comes to information that we take in, for the most part, when you go back in ancient times or whatever, most of the information we took in was information that was pertaining to what's immediately around us, like in our families, in our homes, in our towns, in our community, maybe even the state that we lived in, maybe if it was that much. But most of the information that people took in, it was pretty localized, right? So what was going on in France, what was going on in different parts of the world, in Africa or whatever, we weren't really privy to any of that. The French president having a wife that's basically a man, we weren't privy to that because it had nothing to do with our everyday, right? But now, fast forward, we have this thing called the internet, where every moment at any given moment, we can gain access to things that are happening on all over the parts of the world and everything else. And what this is doing is actually giving this sense of that time is really not moving. I don't know if you've thought of that. Like, it just, like someone mentioned that it seems like a month now feels like a week. Like, it just literally seems like we're in June right now. It seems like we were just in April a minute ago. So it's just a very weird, time that we're in. And it just shows you, especially with technology, what it does in our perception of time and, and trends and all of this stuff, and how it seems like things are just, it seems like it's not only, on one hand, it seems like it's moving fast, but on the other hand, it feels like we're in this, I forgot I think they call it Never Land. I forgot, phenomena. I think that's what it's called. It's called Never Land phenomena, where it's this sense of time is just kind of moving fast, but at the same time, it feels like time is standing still. And, technology has done that. It's changed our perception of just time, period. And that has an impact on all different aspects of our personal lives, as well as the society around us. And so I just thought that was interesting, because when you look at these different trends, like there's a stark difference between 50s fashion and 60s fashion, or 60s fashion and 70s fashion. Same thing with music styles as well. Now it just seems like everything just kind of bleeds in together. You know what I mean? So I thought that was interesting. So yeah, so we're going to talk about, so when it comes to AI, for example, AI, it does have its uses on a practical level. But as you know, this technology can also has a lot of dangers to it as well. Even when Elon Musk, when he was, helping the MAGA revolution in the White House with Trump and all of that, I at the end of the day, with Doge and all of that, at the end of the day, I still knew at the end of the day that, this Elon Musk is part of this thing called the Technocracy. We did a video where we talked about how his father was part of this group that, I forgot the actual name of it, but they were, it was a technocracy where they believed in a world that was basically controlled by technology and all of that. And so Elon Musk, who's basically the son, is just continuing that legacy. So, on one hand, it was good to see, waste being exposed, in these halls of injustice in places like Washington, D.C., with the exposure of USAID and all of that. But on the other hand, you and I both know that it wasn't just Democrats. You also have Republicans that were benefiting from this as well. And so now you have this bill that is they're trying to push through where it's everything the opposite. It's opposite day. That has so much stuff in it right now that, even Elon Musk is calling this stuff out and saying, no, you're basically erasing everything we've done. And so, excuse me. So when we had the election, we had, the choice between the choice was given to the general population between Trump and Kamala Harris. And like I said before, I'm one that I did not vote. I chose not to vote, or I did vote, but I did a write-in. I wrote in some name. But no, I did not vote for either one of these individuals, because I knew regardless of who gets in, they are going to follow whatever is handed to them. What's interesting is you have all of this news coming out regarding President Biden, or former President Biden, and his use of the auto pen, where basically we're finding out now he wasn't really the president at all. In fact, he had some people behind the scenes that were making decisions for him. And all of this is coming down, but that's Biden. But you've also had other presidents. I would argue that just about all the presidents, for that matter, aren't necessarily making decisions on their own. They have other more powerful forces behind them that are pulling the strings and telling them what to do and say. So it's, so it's not just Biden, it's many other people as well. But it becomes a bit scary now, because on one hand, as we get back to, talking about this, AI thing, which we're going to be touching on in a moment. It's one thing when you're dealing with a system, a bureaucracy like in Washington, D.C., that's using technology that has been around since the 50s, and exposing that and saying, hey, you're going to have to upgrade. That's a good thing, right? But it also has a dark side to it as well, because the system, the software and stuff that you're using, it also has a tendency of extracting a bit more too much information, on people as well. So Elon Musk, at the end of the day, he's just part of the equation. And so we have other people now that roll with Elon Musk, like Peter Thiel, and there's others. And we're going to be talking about this company that he helped found called Palantir. We're going to be talking about that. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to look at this AI technology and why we people that have a darker tone of skin, why we should be very concerned about it. And I'm going to show you different avenues, different areas right now where, unfortunately, a lot of the data that these systems are extracting right now to create profiles are coming from people like you, and also coming from people like me. And most importantly, what are the things can we do to kind of at least slow it down a little bit, or if not, stop it? but I think we're kind of past that right now. I think that horse has long left the barn. But these are things that we're going to really have to start taking extremely serious and start paying very close attention to. So that's what we're going to be getting into today. And yes, I am recording it. Later on today, I will take yesterday's broadcast and today's broadcast, and I'll put them up as separate podcasts over on our website, which is journeymanandwoman.com. Okay. So again, big shout out to everybody that has joined us today, and welcome. Really appreciate that. I do want to bring something on the screen though, talking about something we just emailed out to everybody over on Samba Tree. And we got a great sale that's going on right now. And what I'm going to do right now, let me bring this up on the screen. And I have a beautiful woman that just walked up in here. I don't know who this is, but I might want to get her number afterwards. And so, so here you go right here. So Nicole, she's going to tell us a little bit about what's going on over on Samba Tree.
Thank you, Dwayne. Hey y'all, how are you doing? We are almost to midweek or mid-strong, however you want to look at it. What he has on the screen is an e-blast that we just sent out for Samba Tree. And I do get all of your emails, the emails asking, when is this going to be back? When is that going to be back? Shout out to Deborah J, who has been asking me about the coconut water powder. So we're doing a flash sale just to kind of celebrate a lot of these powders coming back into stock. So let me bring this up where you guys can see it a little bit better. Okay, so first off, 20%. This is a flash sale. So with our flash sales, they do not last. This is not going to be up all week. Okay, I haven't decided if it's going to be a 24-hour or not, but jump on it. All right, so it's a flash sale, 20% off all of our superfood and herbal powders, plus black seed oil and bitters. Okay, so you basically can get your health all the way together with this flash sale. Shout out to y'all in the chat. I see y'all saying, hey. All right. So first off, the first headliner that is back in is the soursop leaf powder. So this is for those of you that you don't like making the tea, or you don't have time to make the tea, and you don't want to take capsules. You just want to throw it in a smoothie. Boom. There you go. All right. Soursop leaf powder is back in stock. That one has been out for probably 6 months. It's been out for a really long time. Okay. The soursop leaf powder. And then this is by special request from Sister Deborah. Coconut water powder is back in stock. Again, another one excellent for your smoothies. Very good for hydration or rehydration and electrolytes. Really, really good. That's a great one if you're, if you're not really, you don't do enough water, right? And but you need that hydration. You just throw that coconut water powder into whatever you're drinking. Really, really good. Noni fruit powder back in stock, and the cat's claw powder, which is great for your immune system, back in stock. And this one is a new one. This is really excellent for your heart. This is hawthorn juice or hawthorn berry powder. All right. We basically, you take the berries, dehydrate them, and crush them into a powder. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And so at the bottom of this email, if you click this, it will, you won't have to put in the coupon code. You see that? The coupon code is Samba Flash 20. You will not have to put in the coupon code if you click from this email. When you, as you shop and put that item into the cart, I'm going to show you right now. Into the cart, view your cart. And I probably have to refresh this one here. But what will happen is in your cart, when you go to check out, it will automatically take off the discount. So you do not have to enter the code. So there you go. And just on another quick note, Dwayne, can I take this off real quick and just go to here? Hey, Hey, I'm learning your little system. Just a quick note. I'm gonna be posting over on Samba Tree YouTube channel this week because your sister, I'm down 17 pounds. I'm down 17 pounds. I'm down 17 pounds. Huh? What? See, I need a little and the little the little background noise. What's up, DJ? You're supposed to have me with the background claps. 17 pounds down. No, not you, on the system. You know how you do a little.
I'm not enough anymore.
No, I want the automated ones. But I'm going to be telling you how I am doing it, not how I've done it, because I'm totally not at my goal yet. Okay. But 17 pounds down since April 12th. Okay. And nothing I have ever done in my entire life has taken melted weight off like this, or inches off like this. Never. Nothing. Okay. I have watched people on my timeline. Oh my gosh, I went from this to this. And oh my gosh, I'm 50 pounds down. And you guys just take this little, whatever, this 30-day transformation challenge. And I'm telling you, it's been on my timeline for years, but I've never been able to crack the code. Well, the code has been cracked. Okay. The code has been cracked. And so I'm looking for end of July to be down about 40 pounds. And then I'll decide if I want to keep going or if I like, what I'm seeing. But yeah, 3 words for you. And then you can learn more about it over on Samba Tree. Alternate day fasting is my jam. Okay. And that has cracked the code. So I'll tell y'all all about that over on Samba Tree. I'll probably use the community tab to post my scale, how you can see the weight coming off. And I'll do some shorts, explaining what I've been doing. But love y'all.
All right. Yep. Yeah, she's been dropping. I said she's a skinny queen now. Yeah, her and it was one day we were in the kitchen and I saw someone out of the corner of my eye. I thought it was our daughter, and or I had it backwards, and it was her. And I was like, oh, okay, all right, there you go. So yeah, it's good. So I'm gonna let her play it all the way out, and then I'm gonna probably jump on that bandwagon too. I've been doing some workout. I said, I got to get back to working out on my own. So I've been building up my push-ups. I've been getting back to push-ups. That first day, man, that was tough. And now I'm up to over 30 a day, so I'm gonna build it up slowly get up there and all of that. And then I'm gonna, we'll see what happens. One day you'll see me back up. But anyway, yeah, again, make sure you check that out over there on sambatree.com. I'll put the link here in the chat for the that email that we sent out there. So, and like she said, if for some reason if the code isn't automatically adding for you, that's fine. You have the code right in the email. I just put the link there so you can check that out. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get back into it. What we're talking about here. Let me go to first. I want to show you this video that I came across. This is a Black American man back in 2020. He was wrongfully arrested for something a crime. It didn't involve him. It wasn't him at all. So let's go ahead and pull this up on the screen, and then we're going to take a look at it, and then we're going to continue our conversation. Okay. All right, here we go. All right, let's go.
Let's not make a show in front of your wife and kids because you are under arrest.
This is Robert Williams. 3 years ago, he was arrested on his driveway for a crime he hadn't committed.
They made a mistake, baby. It's okay.
The reason? artificial intelligence mistook him for this man, who was suspected to have stolen thousands of dollars worth of watches. Robert was released after 30 hours in custody, but the experience has had a lasting impact.
Imagine knowing you didn't do anything wrong, and they show up to your home and arrest you in your driveway before you can really even get out the car and hug and kiss your wife or see your kid.
In a statement, the Detroit Police Department said it has strict rules for using facial recognition technology, and it sees any match only as a clue and not as proof that someone committed a crime. But at the time of Robert's arrest 3 years ago, studies showed that the technology was between 10 and 100 times more likely to misidentify black people than white people. This is because the technology is trained on predominantly white datasets. And that's not just an issue with facial recognition.
This is an AI image generator. All I have to do is put in some words and it will generate an image for me based on the vast amount of data that it's been trained on. So if I prompt it to generate images of workers in a high-paid profession like a lawyer, all of the images I'm getting in this instance are of white people. Now, if I prompt it to generate images of workers in a low-paid profession like a fast food worker, all of the images I'm getting in this instance are of black people. But there could be a bias here, because actually, the majority of fast food workers, at least in America, are white.
We spoke to the company who made the model, and they told us, we worked hard to give the model a much more diverse and wide-ranging dataset. This included using sophisticated filters that create a more globally representative result of common items. This startup in Sheffield is working on a different solution. If we don't have the data, why not make it up?
We create what we call digital humans, and those digital humans, we can basically vary many aspects of any skin tone, any ethnicity. And by mixing all of those together, we build up a massive database of really varied digital humans.
But using computer-generated or synthetic data to train AI models has its own set of problems.
I haven't traveled across the whole world. I haven't met anyone from every single culture and ethnicity and country. So there's no way I can develop something that would represent everyone in the world, and that could lead to further offenses.
As AI seeps into more and more of our daily lives, it's essential that it represents the world we live in. And although creating synthetic data can help, it's unlikely that it will eliminate the issue of racial bias in AI. Artie Nutchippen, Sky News.
I don't know anybody look like, oh, that looks scary. Let me get him off the screen. I don't know anybody that looks like that right there on the screen. But anyway, they bring up a very good point. And like Team Truth said, there are studies that are on this where they have shown that, there are built-in biases in identifying people based off of race or skin tone, where, when it comes to negative things, black folks tend to come up a lot more often than, let's say, white people. Some of you can even notice this, and like, I'm glad she did that search, for example. There's sites I used to go to get royalty-free images. Depending on what I'm searching for, on one hand, it would come up with white. The other hand, it would come up with black. And, but it was like, no, I'm looking for a black lawyer. And then all of a sudden it was like, I don't know. Can blacks be a lawyer? I don't know. I don't think that's, what do you think, Bit? I don't know. What do you think about this, Bite? I don't know. And so there was always this confusion. I want to see a black man in a suit. That's all I want to see, a black man in a suit. And it will give me an African man. I mean, clearly African. I'm looking at the hairline. I'm like, okay, yeah, no, but that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a regular black American man in a suit. All right. How about this? Let me do a search for a black man with his family. Let's do that one. And 9 times out of 10, it will come back a black man with a white woman. And it was getting so frustrating. And I was just like, you know what? Just whatever. And so what I would end up doing is having to go to Google Images and have to find something and make some alterations to it, and and then make it work. And then all of a sudden, these different AI imaging platforms came on, and then it kind of fixed that because I can get exactly what I'm looking for. But the point is that the portrayals of black folks within the AI space has a long history of being very problematic. And this is something that I've been saying that, black folks, we have to really pay very close attention to this. I did a video a while back talking about the importance of black folks establishing something like a code of ethics when it comes to how black folks are portrayed in the AI space. I was going to look, but I forgot. But I'm willing to bet, Congressional Black Caucus or, NAACP and some of these other organizations, I'm willing to bet that they probably haven't done any in-depth studies on these particular issues, but it needs to be done. It needs to be done for real. But anyway, let's move on. Let's go to something I want to share here. Like I said, I got some other videos here, but for now, let me go to what I want to talk about here. So let me go to here first. I'm gonna pull this up on the screen. Now, this is Trump's, this bill that he's trying to push to get, passed, this budget bill. I'm just gonna read you some of the highlights of this, but I'm gonna basically tell you what it translates to. Okay, artificial intelligence and information technology modernization. And this is in section 43201. It says, let's see, to replace or modernize within the Department of Commerce legacy business systems with state-of-the-art commercial artificial intelligence systems and automated decision systems, automated threat detection. All right, let's see, let's go on. It talks about no state or political subdivision thereof may enforce any law or regulation regulating artificial intelligence models, artificial intelligence systems, or automated decision systems during the 10-year period beginning on the date of the enactment of this act. So what that is saying is that if this bill gets passed with this clip in it, with this particular part in here, as the government is flooding the zone with all of these AI technologies, if a particular state, whatever state you're in, if they were to say, wait a minute, now this is being a bit intrusive to people, and I'm gonna give you some examples in a moment. This is being a bit intrusive. That state will not have the authority to stop it. You can't stop it, right? Let me read on and I may come back to that. Let's see here. Okay. The primary purpose and effect of which is to remove legal impediments to or facilitate the deployment or operation an artificial intelligence model, artificial intelligence systems, or automated decision systems. Anyway, and then I'll go down to C, does not impose any substantive design, performance, data handling, documentation, civil liability, taxation, fee, blah, blah, blah. And so the rest of that, what that is saying is that you won't even be able, it's kind of like when they came out, when these pharmaceutical companies, after they did what they did, and let's say someone to come and sue them, you wouldn't have the power to do it. So that's the same thing with these systems that they're bringing in, is that nobody will be able to stop it. All right. And that's what's going on right now. So let me go ahead and continue, because I want you now to keep that in mind as we start going through some of this other stuff here that we're going to be talking about here. All right. So let me go over real quickly some of the things that are already happening with AI. All right. Let's see. So, for example, we got facial recognition search, and FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and local police departments are already using this. There's been some news reports that talk about false positive rates for black faces run 10 to 100 times higher than white faces. All right. That's just with facial recognition. Predictive policing. You remember in that movie, they had the pre-crime division. Well, it was more than a movie. Minority Report. It was more than a movie. A lot of these movies are just advertisements for technologies that they're already using. And so when they had this little pre-crime division, as the name implies, this, for those that didn't see the movie, this is a specialized department within the police department who was able to predict crime before it happened. And it was in this futuristic world where, computers had information on all people, and based on the profiles of these people, they were able to detect who was more likely to commit crime. All right. And let me say that again. They lived in a society where you had computer systems that had information on all people. Well, it looks like that's already happening, ain't it? Trump taps Palantir to create master database on every American. That's already happening. All right. And we're going to talk about Palantir in a moment. Yeah, it's already happening. All right. So let's move on. So let's see. Open source social media monitoring and sentiment analysis. FBI is using this, Department of Homeland Security, and then state fusion centers. Posts using protest hashtags are scored for civil unrest risk. Automation bias means analysts often accept the score even when context is missing. Okay. All right. Courtroom corrections risk scores. State judges, Federal Bureau of Prisons. Studies show systematically higher reoffend predictions for Black defendants is at the same actual risk level. Okay, so they're using this now, but I'm going to get into even some deeper stuff there and just how much they're using this. All right, so Trump's bill, what does Trump's bill, in short, what would it change? It pumps $500 million of AI and automated threat detection tools for federal agencies through 2035. It modernizes legacy systems. And like I said, it's a 10-year preemption. All right. Like, in other words, again, that means that any state or political subdivision, whatever, they're not going to be able to come up with any kind of laws to stop it. All right. There was one of the this girl, she's like a firebrand on MAGA sign, conservative congresswoman. She literally just posted on Twitter and she said, had I known this, I wouldn't have voted for it. Now I'm like, well, y'all the main ones that be out here blasting Democrats and saying they don't read the bills. So you're just acknowledging that you didn't read the bill. So you have people, Democrat or Republicans, that was signing off on this stuff. We're going to get into, how this really try to bring this home on how does this really impact Black folks? Because I want you to think of a lot of you have heard about the social credit score system that China has. Well, companies like Palantir, which is really a front for the CIA, and I'm going to show you some of that in a moment. This is what they are aggressively working toward. So when you hear Trump, I mean, even from day one, when I would hear Trump talk about how he's going to drain the swamp, I never believed that. I literally never believed that. And because you're not going to make it to the head of the swamp if you ain't part of the swamp. I mean, I don't know. I don't know why people expect it any different, but it's what it is. So my concern with this was not so much, and your concern too, this is not going to just impact Black folks. Now, we're specifically talking Black folks now. Black folks who have a criminal background. But we're also talking Black folks who don't, such in the case that I just showed you. Here you had a man who did not have a criminal background, for what I can understand, that was being compared to somebody who does have a criminal background. Now, let me just tell you just how crazy, what AI is. And some of you, and we're going to get back into this, some of you may have experience with this. Like right now, I am dealing with a situation with a company that has been doing some things that, has not been good, basically. And so we've been calling them out on it. I'm talking about, what I'm doing offline here. And, they're trying to duck and tail and all of that and try to do all this stuff here. And every time I call this company to try to, tell them, hey, listen, and I'm being as professional as possible. I'm talking to their customer service or whatever. Nobody knows anything. The way this company is basically designed, you have the customer service. They are, they're in one department. Then you have another department. Then you have all these different departments, right? That's like any company, right? However, customer service doesn't really directly talk to any of these. So I'm basically putting all of my frustration on a department that really can't do anything. All they can do is write an email and send it to them. And I'm like, well, instead of you doing that, how about I do it? Let's make it a party and let's get everybody in this so we can get this solved. I don't know. Y'all don't care about y'all. Just let's get this thing moving, And the more and more interactions I'm having with these people, I'm realizing this is AI. Like some of these people, I even wonder if I'm even talking to AI. Because what I'm finding right now is as these companies are incorporating AI into their day-to-day, I'm finding that the humans really know less and less. And the people, the powers that are over them that are like, yeah, look, we need more and more AI, they don't care. They don't care. And so these people that are in customer service, all they got is a book. They're just kind of going through their book and they're saying, okay, well, line number 3 says I'm supposed to say this. A line number 4 needs to say this. And see, y'all, listen, I'm a type of person. I'm like, listen, I don't care about your line 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, or 20. What I'm saying is what you're telling me to do, it is not working. It's not working. Okay. And they will go right along and say, I understand that. I'm sorry to say that. But OK, here's another point here on the point number 5. I'm supposed to say, I said, do you hear no words coming out of my mouth? And I'm really trying to work them through this. And it's like, whatever. Right. And there was one time they had the nerve to say, OK, now I'm going to need you to keep it respectful and all that. And I was like, what? Like, I wasn't being ignorant, but I was just like, OK. I was being snarky at that point because it was like, whatever. And so a lot of these companies today, they will make decisions on things just on whatever AI gives them. They're going to make a decision. Some of you have experienced this on social media, for example. I know I am, where out of the blue, all of a sudden I'm getting a notification. Oh, we're sorry. We're going to have to park your account for a little bit because we've detected some unusual activity. Okay, what unusual activity? Well, you broke one of our sovereign laws or whatever it was. I'm like, which one? Well, if you want to know, just email us and we'll tell you. And I'm like, okay, let me email you. I get an email back. They'll send a whole list of all their sovereign laws. I'm like, okay, which one did I break? I don't understand. Well, basically, our decision stands. And that's what it says. And so the amount of frustration this builds, it's just, I'm telling you right now, I am just like, ready to knock folk out. But again, this is what we're having happen today. This is what's happening now. So that's just dealing with companies. Now imagine that being in the case of like this black man that I showed you earlier. He just minding his business. I don't know if he was getting in his car or leaving, one of the two, and a cops just approach him and they're already all gassed up and saying, now you don't want to make a scene in front of your wife and all that. I mean, can you imagine someone rolling up on you like that? And it's like, make a scene. What are you talking about? Why are you trying to put handcuffs on me? Now you need to calm down because you are in a lot of trouble. And they come with that kind of thunder. So you got adults out here that don't even think. I'm talking about these enforcers, not necessarily just police, but I'm talking about even in these companies, people that would enforce policies and stuff. But when you're trying to talk to them and explain to them, hey, listen, whatever system you're using, it's not correct. It's false. I got the information here. Just look at it. I'm not looking at it because the system told me this. I'm telling you, the amount of times I have encountered this foolishness, it's frustrating. But we're going to see a lot more of this. All right. And so just imagine again. So we're dealing with a system already that has a history of pointing out black folks and accusing black folks of things that, in many cases, we're not guilty of. But it's getting its data from somewhere. Now, some of you may think that, well, they're just putting in there that black people bad, black people bad, black people bad. I would beg to differ on that. Okay. And I'm going to tell you why in a moment. Let me just go on here and see what else I have here. There's a company here. One of the companies that we're going to talk about briefly is called Palantir. Now, Palantir is a company, is basically a CIA front. If you think the CIA is just a company or just, one of these agencies that go around with black hats and, dark suits and all of that, and they're going around and all. The CIA is involved in pretty much everything involving our lives. Everything. I was just watching a video yesterday. It was talking about the amount of the CIA is moving. I forgot how much. It was like quad something. It wasn't even quadrillion. It was like above that. The amount of stocks they actually control on the U.S. stock market. Like, you have to go through them for trades to happen. Whatever system that they got set up, it's all pretty much going through the CIA. And they were just explaining all of this and how crazy this is, but this is a reality. And so when it comes to systems like this, what the CIA and FBI and Department of Homeland Security, what they were doing was they would collect data and just put it in their data heap, right? But at some point, you need a way to be able to categorize it and make it easily searchable. And so this is where Palantir came in. Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, and it's a few other people. They got together with some CIA people in the intelligence industry, people within the Israeli intelligence industry as well, all got together and they basically helped put together this company. All right. From what I understand, the first 7 years or so, the only the customer that Palantir had for the first 6 or 7 years was the CIA. And so the CIA they were working close in hand with the CIA, as the CIA was telling them what to do. Because, see, this is why it was set up this way. Because the CIA, the FBI, they're bound by something called the Constitution, that daggone it Constitution. They can't do anything beyond the Constitution. It's like an invisible wall to them. Yeah, right. But for the most part, they are bound by certain rules, right? However, what they can do is create businesses or invest in other businesses that are in the private sector that can do pretty much whatever the heck they want. And those businesses aren't bound by the Constitution. You understand? So this is what you have going on all around us, literally all around us. You have many of these companies that have CIA, FBI investments, heavy investments. Okay. And they're basically controlling a lot of these companies that we interact with on a daily basis. So what I'm going to do is let me play just some of these short video clips here, just to give you an idea of what Palantir, what they are about. And then we can talk more about it. And we're going to get into, some of the things that black folks have been doing for a minute now that's contributing to this issue that we're talking about. Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and pull this video up. Let's take a listen to what they are saying here about Palantir. Let's pay close attention. Okay.
Ben Shapiro, and he quote tweeted this tweet from Palantir. Saw Barry Weiss was promoting Palantir. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Why is he promoting Palantir right now? Palantir, for those who don't know, this is a CIA front organization. Their only client up until 2008 was the CIA. They got started with funding from the CIA's venture capital firm In-Q-Tel. Mm-hmm. They have developed software that was responsible for tracking people, gathering all of the health data basically around the world during COVID. During the onset of COVID, when people first started hearing about COVID-19, this is when Palantir went public. Palantir, using its Gotham software, developed a program called Tiberius, which is run by the federal government and used to collect data from U.S. government agencies, pharmaceutical firms, and vaccine manufacturers. Tiberius Platforms were also involved in the clinical trials of the development of the current COVID-19 vaccines, the creation of the COVID-19 vaccines. The CEO of the company, Alex Karp, explaining how Palantir's Gotham software single-handedly was successful in stopping the rise of the far right in Europe, and whose mission is to stop the right wing here in America. This is a CIA front organization whose mission is to track and monitor you. This is the company that Ben Shapiro is quote tweeting. This is the company that Ben Shapiro is promoting. Just to make it clear for those who don't know, take a look at this. Karp says a lot of the decisions he makes at Palantir are driven by his experiences as a Jew. His fear set propels a lot of the decisions for this company. If the far right came to power, he said, he would certainly be among its victims. You make a list, and I will show you who they get first. It's me. There's not a box I don't check. You know, Ben Shapiro, Barry Weiss, Gad Thad, Bill Ackman, Peter Thiel's involved in this as well. You know, they're all promoting these like CIA front organizations. They're
all Jews.
All these different groups that hate conservatives, hate America, hate Christianity, all because why? They're fighting back against anti-Semitism.
Yep, all of them Jews at the top. That's not a conspiracy. You can call it whatever. That's not some made up tinfoil hat stuff. You can take the tinfoil hat. I don't care, but the facts are the facts. And when you start looking at some of these companies and stuff that's involved in this, the people at the top, most of them are Jewish people, and that is something that we need to take note of. Okay, and so anyway, so that's one. Let me go and look at this video here. I know there was a lot that he kind of squeezed in there, but let me get to this video here. This is Leo Laporte. He's from Twit TV. Man, this dude been around forever, man. Let's go here. We're not going to play the whole video, but I'll play just enough for you to get what he's saying here, okay, or what he's asking here. He's interviewing somebody who's explaining Palantir. All right, so let's take a listen to him.
Been talking about this a little bit on Motherboard. There was a piece in Slate this morning that creeped me out. It turns out license plate reading software has gotten so cheap, and it will work with $100 cameras, that it's being installed everywhere. License plate readers, they give an example of a housing complex where people are using it to make sure that, you know, you're not abusing your rental agreement, that you know, if it's, they are everywhere. It's about $100 for the software on a $100 camera. Cities, the city I live in, Petaluma, I noticed was putting up cameras on every traffic light, every street light. Yeah. And I realized they're not valuable if you have to have somebody sitting and watching them. If you've got 400 cameras in a town of 50,000 people, what do you just got 800 officers looking at them? No, you put license plate reading software on it. Yeah. And then if you want to know where Leo was last night, you know. Yeah. Exactly. And this is an example, to me, Palantir is another one. And I'm really interested that you, Caroline, have been able to break through, because Palantir has been almost a legendarily secret company in Silicon Valley. Yeah. Funded by Peter Thiel. Alex Karp is its secretive CEO. And we knew it was some sort of, well, what is it? I don't know what we knew.
Yeah, I guess the best way to describe it is that it's an aggregator. It takes data from like all different types of sources, and it organizes it and is able to find connections in ways that, like, if you're just a regular human analyst, you might.
All right, so I want, before she continues, I want to make sure you heard what she said. It's an aggregator. So basically, it's taking all of this information that's out here from various sources, and it's organizing it. Okay, so when you know, Palantir is just one of it's probably the bigger one, but there are other companies that do this as well, because the federal government, they're just information gatherers. That's all they're gonna do. You know, they're like, okay, we're gonna monitor this situation over here, we're gonna collect this information here, we're gonna collect this information here, and we're just gonna put it in a big pile. Palantir, companies like Palantir, what they do is they'll take that information, they categorize it, they section it off, and then they make it into a format that's easy to search, and so that its systems, its AI systems, can structure it in a way where if they need instantaneous analysis on a particular situation, it can instantaneously do that, as opposed to shipping it a big manila folder down the street somewhere to a department in the basement where you got 20 people looking at it, and they're, got the big board where they're just drawing lines and all that stuff. No, you ain't got to do that. Now you have a system that will do that almost instantaneously for you. All right. So I just want to make sure you understood what you didn't allow that to pass over. Palantir, they're basically is a humongous aggravator of information. All right, let's go.
Not be able to do it. Or if you're just a person with access to 5 different databases and you're looking to use something from there, I mean, that's not actionable, just having all this unstructured data. So that's Palantir's role. It organizes it, and it's able to make charts and sort through very sensitive data very easily, as easy as making a search.
This is what's worrying me about AI. It's not that it's going to become conscious and want to get rid of the humans. It's that there are humans who will be using this. You wrote that 300 California cities, Northern California cities, and I wouldn't be surprised if Petaluma is one of them, are using Palantir. Why did Petaluma put up all those cameras?
And I have this article, and we're going to look at this too. 300 California cities. This was written back in 2019. At that point, 2019, 300 California cities have access to Palantir. And like I said, we're going to go through this article in a moment, okay?
To gather data. And what are they going to do with the data?
I think the noteworthy thing here... Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No.
Yeah. The noteworthy thing here is that I started this whole thing by sending public information requests to individual cities, and almost all of them came back empty. The only one that came back with information was through the NCRIC, the Northern California Regional Intelligence Center. So even if you're a citizen living in one of these cities and you want to find out about it, there's really no way for you to know. I mean, only by filing a public record request to this regional center do you realize, because here's the thing, police officers can request this type of data from the NCRIC, but there's no paper trail for those individual cities, and there's really no transparency for the citizens that are actually living there.
So this is run through the Department of Homeland Security. Do they say it's to cut down on terrorism?
Right. So on their website, they claim that most of their efforts are focused on major drug operations and terrorism operations. But at the same time, they will pretty much investigate anything that a local police department requests help with. And this could be, literally any type of crime. It could be a robbery. It could be a domestic assault. It could be really any type of investigation that a local police department is operating. So this isn't just a let's catch people trying to commit a major act of terrorism. This is, local operations. And this is, they have a massive amount of data on the people that are living in those areas.
On the one hand, I would say, that's good. We're going to be a safer city in Petaluma. By the way, our county is one of the 14 participating Northern California counties in NC. Yep. RIC. There it is. It's going to be safer. It's going to be safer here.
I don't know. I think that this is, it sort of reminds me about the arguments that people make with respect to privacy. I have nothing to hide, so I shouldn't have any reason to worry about this, know?
I don't buy that one. Yeah. If you have nothing to hide, leave the bathroom door open.
Right.
I've tried that argument. People don't like that.
There's reason. It's not that you have something to hide. It's not that you're a criminal. It's just that we deserve to live privately.
The risk here is the slippery slope. You mentioned that, why are they installing these cameras in Petaluma? And it doesn't matter why. Once they have the cameras, they can later decide, oh, hey, we have all these cameras. Why don't we do X, Y, Z? So it's really the infrastructure is just another step in a direction.
I feel like we're sliding down this slope.
Well, here's another example. I just wrote a piece for Fast Company about emotion technology in cars, where cars will be able to read your emotions, understand what your mindset is, understand what's happening in the car. This is part of the, self-driving cars are like supercomputers on wheels with all these sensors pointing outward. What we're not talking enough about is the sensors pointing inward at the drivers and everybody else. What's interesting is that Fictiva is in the lead with this technology of being able to read emotions of drivers, and they're not doing it by installing cameras in cars. They're using the cameras already installed in cars, and they're just tapping into that feed. It's like after the fact kind of an idea where it's like, well, these high-end cars have cameras. Why don't we just read people's emotions with them? Yeah. And so this is what's
why do they want the emotions? I mean, I can understand for self-driving vehicles, it's important to know what that other driver is going to do. That doesn't bother me.
Well, the
humans are the big problem with self-driving vehicles.
Well, the biggest thing is this is going to go online before they're fully self-driving. But most urgently, Europe has enacted legislation saying that by 2021, all cars sold in Europe will have to have basic reading function. They have to tell whether the driver's falling asleep, whether the driver's drunk.
Yeah.
This is a
Cadillac just put that in their CTS for their autopilot feature.
Yes,
because as you know, same with Tesla, you got to keep your hand on the wheel. And you have to keep your eyes on the road. It used to be that it was enough to have your hand on the wheel, but Cadillac actually has a camera that sees where you're looking, so that if you look down or away from the road, while the autopilot's on, it actually vibrates your seat and then eventually disengages it. To trick it, I had to cover my eyes, but I was too scared to
driving.
Well, that was the thing. I was too scared to actually do that, so I did like this, and I had peered through my fingers, and it did.
What if you wear sunglasses?
Yeah, but exactly. I mean, it does. It's looking at you driving.
Well, the best thing,
and let me just add this, and this is something again that a lot of people, there are numbers of people who are not aware of this. Tesla cars. I tell you, in T-Truth, out here in Arizona, I mean, everybody and their mama got a Tesla car out here, man. I mean, I don't, but there's a lot of people out here that are Tesla drivers. And, well, I'm getting a Tesla because I can save the environment. I'm not buying gasoline. I'm actually, instead of, doing, I'm using electric. And what people don't realize is that the way you get that electric is by burning up coal and stuff like that, which is putting stuff in the air, the very things that you're saying that you're trying to avoid doing. You're not doing it, but another company is doing it, And so you try to explain that to people, whatever. But I think T-Truth, he mentioned Waymo. Now, you got Waymo and then you got Tesla cars. Now, Tesla, we're in June now, so I think this month, in the state of Texas, they are about to kick off officially self-driving Tesla cars that are going to, when you get how you get an Uber car, and usually when you get an Uber, there's a human being that's actually driving it. Well, in this case with Waymo, for those who aren't familiar with it, it'll pull up. Ain't nobody in there. It's got all these bells and whistles literally all over it, these Waymo cars. You see them all the time, when I'm driving through Mesa or Tempe, in different parts of Phoenix or whatever. You see them literally all over the place. You go to the airport, they're all over the place down there. They're not in the, going out further than that. And I think the reason why is because in those cities that I just mentioned, like Tempe or Mesa or in Phoenix, it's the communities are laid out more in a perfect grid, so it makes it a lot easier for these self-driving cars to kind of learn the environment, and that's it. But that's Waymo. Tesla, on the other hand, uses a slightly different technology that it can operate anywhere. All right. So for those that have Tesla cars, all those different sensors and stuff that they have on those cars, if you have a Tesla car, you are agreeing that it's going to constantly collect all this constant data whenever you turn the key or press the button, however it works, and you start driving. That moment, it's collecting data. It's collecting all of this data. Why do you think they're building all these large data centers? Because you need a lot of computing power to store all this stuff. So these cars, as you're driving, you're helping people like Elon Musk and all these other tech companies to collect data for them, right? You're doing that, and there should be a discount for that, right? But, no. So you're by default helping them to collect data, and they're looking at things like how do you handle traffic, or, if there's a construction zone, how do you navigate around that? And they're collecting that stuff. So starting, I believe, is this month in Texas, a small town in Texas, they're going to start releasing these things out in the street. And so these cars now, unlike Waymo, that's going to be restricted only like in cities or parts of town that have a grid system, these Tesla cars, they're going to be able to go wherever. All right. And that's why, like I told you again, you're going to invest. That's going to be one company to invest, is because Tesla cars, self-driving Tesla cars, they're going to be able to grow exponentially way more faster than Waymo. Waymo is growing, but they're not going to be growing at the rate of when Tesla starts really unleashing these cars. All that being said, if you got a Tesla, I don't care if it's the truck or the car or whatever, it is constantly collecting data on your driving. And what they just pointed out is these same cars also have cameras that are looking at you. So they're collecting data on you. And so you got third parties that are collecting this data, and they are pushing it wherever they're pushing it to and giving it to other companies, so forth and so on. So this is the world we live in. And that was a great analogy he gave. He said, hey, you know, you may be a person that says, I don't have nothing to hide. I'm not a criminal or anything like that. But they said, okay, fine. Then when you go to a public bathroom, make sure the door is open and you got to sit on the toilet. Leave the door open then. If you ain't got nothing to hide. The fact of the matter is, privacy is just part of being human. You know what I mean? Being a living being. You know, it's about privacy. You know, privacy is just part of who we are. And unfortunately, this technology situation that we're in right now wants to get rid of literally all of it. Let's go back and let's just play a few more minutes of it. And like I said, again, I'm going to give you some specifics here on things that black folks are doing now that's making this worse for black folks. Okay. You want to make sure you listen into that part. All right. So let me go back to this and let's play a little bit more of what they're saying here. Okay.
We're able to get that, and I guess with OnStar, they probably are getting that information.
But I love that technology because you can be able to look at a store and say, is that open? And they'll know what you're looking at, and it'll say, oh, the so-and-so Starbucks is not open right now.
So, Caroline, you filed a public records request and got the Palantir user manual for cops.
Right. So
wow.
It seems like, yeah, this was a specific user manual that seemed to be designed for cops that were operating in like the West, North California area. And full disclosure, the manual was almost unreadable. It took me several hours to be able to parse all of this through.
Because of jargon?
Because of jargon, because it was just poorly organized. It was poorly worded.
Oh, that's encouraging.
They did not define any of the terms. They just sort of said that the way it was organized was, here's how you make a search. And then they sort of introduced different charting functions.
By the way, this is confidential and proprietary, not for distribution. So please close your eyes.
Another thing boomers say, in my day, we used to go through dumpsters to find that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Well, so searching for records in Palantir, start in the graph application. This is the worst. This manual, you're right, Caroline. This is horrible.
It is like unreadable.
Click the gear icon. Oh my God.
Right. I think it's the best way to describe it is in terms of what you can do and what information that you're starting with. If you're starting with just a name, you can get, I mean, if they have it in their data systems, if they have it in police record management systems, if they have it through other types of private data that they obtain, things that could have access to people's email addresses or bank account numbers, really sensitive information like that. I mean, this is all pulled instantly just from a simple name search.
And if you know somebody's license plate, and you use this example in your article, you can know where they, because of license plate readers and cameras everywhere, you can know pretty much everywhere somebody's been and when for any time period.
Right. So basically you set the radius and you say you're looking for a particular license plate number that's traveled in like, I don't know, let's say 100-mile radius or more. And then you can set a date range if you want. And since they have timestamps and they have location stamps, you can get all of that information. And then they also have a picture of the car and the license plate itself. So all of this information is stored just by searching a license plate number.
With a name, this is, I mean, we've all seen this on TV, on NCIS and stuff, but really this is even much better than anything. With a name, you can get a person's email address, phone number, current and previous addresses, bank accounts, social security numbers, business relationships, family relationships, license information, height, weight, eye color. If it's in an agency's database, you can get it. So that's what Palantir's doing. Do they talk about the sources of this information? Are they getting it, some of it obviously from DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles? Is it all government agencies? Is it Google and Facebook?
See, the NCRIC specifically, it's a fusion center. So they would use Palantir to take the different police, like local police records. So this would be like crime, arrest, etc. data. And Palantir also says that they get data really vaguely from government and federal agencies. So this could be where you're getting informations about like license plate data, for instance.
They're going to go on. It's a great interview. You know, as you can see, there's a lot of information in there, but we're going to move on here. So let's talk. So, you know, as you just heard there, this company Palantir is very, very involved, you know, in taking all of this data that they're getting from multiple sources and organizing it and structuring in such a way that it makes it a lot easier for, you know, like the Department of Homeland Security, local law enforcement, Department of Justice, whatever, to be able to do these searches and be able to pull this stuff up very quickly. Couple of things that I want to bring to your attention too. You know how recently, you know, we've seen the swiftness of ICE, you know, the immigration enforcement, you know, of the United States going after all of these illegal immigrants and stuff. And people on the side are just like, yes, get them. I'm sorry, just go in and get them. And you see how swift they're going after these people and getting them and all of that. Well, let me propose to you something. These immigrants, these illegals that are in this country and the swiftness that they're able to pull these people out, they're the guinea pigs. They're the ones that, you know, these companies like Palantir, they're able to show off how quickly and efficient they are to be able to track these people down and to get them out of here. So it starts with the guinea pigs. So they had to start with somebody. So they start with the guinea pigs, which are these illegal immigrants, because, you know, they're illegal immigrants. So we can just take them and, you know, scoop them up and out of here because, you know, you're not really bound by anything. So you need to be bound up out of here, you know. But that same technology is not going to go anywhere. This is just the dry run for what they're doing with people. Okay. So as you're cheering, you know, some of you are cheering that they're finding illegal immigrants and all of that and shipping them away. I want you to also keep in mind that that same technology is also being used and will be used on you. All right. Here's an article here. Here we go right here. I'll just point this out real quick. Palantir knows everything about you. This was written a few years ago. High above the Hudson River in downtown Jersey City, a former U.S. Secret Service agent named Peter, I can't say his name, Capaccia III, ran special ops for J.P. Morgan Chase and Company. His insider threat group, most large financial institutions have won. Use computer algorithms to monitor the bank's employees, to protect against perfidious traders and other miscreants, and aided by as many as 120 forward developed engineers from the data mining company Palantir Technologies Inc., which JP Morgan engaged in 2009. His group vacuumed up emails and browser histories, GPS locations from companies issued smartphones, printer and download activity, and transcripts of digitally recorded phone conversations. And it goes on and on and on, right? Okay, so like I said again, I'm not going to read all of that. Going back to this article here, what we talked about, 300 California cities secretly have access to Palantir. I think they pretty much described that on what exactly they're doing. But now I want to talk about the content, how black folks are making this, you know, many black folks are making this difficult on ourselves. You know, going back at the beginning of, or earlier in this broadcast, I showed you that video of the black man who was wrongfully arrested because of this AI technology. And if you looked at the image of the person that they was actually trying to get, I mean, just on very quick view, just on the image alone, I mean, the guy kind of resembled that other guy. The guy that they was really looking for was also black. And I guess based on the information, he was the criminal. He's the one that was doing things wrong. Now, I know for a lot of black folks, when we hear about things like this, we assume that you got somebody on the side, some white people that's saying, yeah, let's raise it up. Let's make sure that black people are the ones that are most targeted. And so we automatically default to that. Is that happening? I'm sure to a measure, yes. But remember what I said, companies like Palantir are companies that aggravate the information that's already out there. Okay, I hope you're following me. So if the information is out there, it's going to be a very hard leap for them to all of a sudden jump into, having these glitches where they're also always accusing black people of wrongfully accusing black folks for doing, different crimes and stuff like that. But if you've been following this platform, I've been showing you a lot of activity, unfortunately by black folks, that black folks are actually uploading themselves, doing all kinds of things. Let me give you an example. I saw this video of a guy, I guess he thought it was funny. It's a grown man. It's a black guy. And I'm looking to see if I have anything in here. But basically, he had a pack of toilet paper, right? Jumbo size of toilet paper, which is probably going to run you, depending on what brand you get, anywhere from $16 to $20, depending on what brand you get. Okay, so let's just say $19.99. All right, $19.99, big pack of toilet paper, and then he had under it, he had a little pack of gum. And so what he did was he put the little pack of gum under the toilet paper, the big pack of toilet paper. So as he was running the scan was picking up the gum, but not the toilet paper. So he ended up walking out of there, not even paying the full price of it. And you got a lot of people that are doing these kind of things. And they're filming it. They're filming it themselves. There's two types of filming that's going on when that happens. They're filming it so that they can post it on their social media, but also the cameras that are all in those self-checkout lanes. You got cameras all over the place here. They're filming it too. But a lot of these people are so dumb, they will upload their own criminality on the jumbo TV on social media, and they be kikiing, ha-ha, and laughing and think it's funny and all of that, encouraging other people to do it. But it gets recorded. And when it gets recorded, where does it go? It goes into cyberspace. It goes into the internet, clouds and stuff like that, right? So you have that, right? Now you go on, I cannot tell you the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos that black individuals will upload every day of them fighting each other over the most trivial of situations. I mean, it's just something, I don't like you, pow. Okay, we gonna fight. We gonna do this thing. Fighting each other, just videos where we just fighting each other. There are hundreds of those videos that get uploaded every day. Or black folks going into a restaurant or whatever and just showing out. Child, I'm gonna get this on video. Look at these folks, and we just gonna record it. Look at what they doing. And we're just uploading it and uploading it and uploading it. Or we'll get online and we just sit up here talking about, let me tell you about this here. Listen, America is going to burn, okay? I am sick and tired of this country, and it is time for it to burn. I am actually cheering for every time something catches on fire. I want things to happen. I want the president to such and such. I want some of these people to be eliminated and all that. That represents the judgment of the Most High. Yah. Hallelujah. And you're putting all of this stuff on here. Where do you think that's going? You think that's just going to your little followers? The little people that's in your chat talking about, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, more. Keep saying it. You think that's just, it's just going to them and that's it. And nobody else knows. It's just us. You think it's just going just to them? No. Groups like these companies like Palantir and all of that, you are giving them giga data watts or whatever you want to call it of all of this data that's creating a huge profile of black folks. A huge profile. So when we're uploading, when we have this tendency, when black folks have this tendency, not all, but many, have a tendency of uploading all of this data that's creating this profile of black folks being very violent towards each other. Where do you think that data is going? It's going to companies like Palantir, and they're taking that information and they're like, okay, all right, well, we're going to take that. And and you see somebody that's, teenager, they're black, and, if they're wearing a certain type of clothing, there's a high probability that they probably are carrying a gun and they're going to commit a crime. And, you got black folks that are constantly uploading this information over and over and over again. World Star, you putting all of that stuff up there. I don't know if people say that now, but yeah. So, and guess what? There are police departments now. If you think it's just, just people, snitching on themselves with that kind of stuff. There are police departments, all those remember I was telling the video we did recently where we talked about police body cam videos, all of that data that police cam videos capture, body cam capture, it all goes to the companies. It all goes to companies like Palantir. I have some examples here. What it does is now it does twofold. A lot of this software that they use, the AI software, a lot of these police departments use, that analyzes police body cam videos, it's designed to do twofold. One, it's designed to monitor the tone and the language that the officers are using so that to make sure that they're staying within department policy, right? So it's monitoring that. But the second fold is also looking at the suspect, and it's collecting all of that data as well. I'll give you some examples here. To transcribes audio and drafts the first police report. The first police report that is drafted in places like Fresno, San Mateo, East Palo Alto, Campo, California. The first police report that's generated after a police interaction, it comes from AI. If they got the video, the body cam video, they immediately take that cam video, they'll plug it into whatever the system, and immediately AI extracts what it needs to extract off and generates the first police report. So there's no human involved in the actually writing the police report. In New York, it flags language, tone, de-escalation, failures, use of force cues. And so they've been piloting this in New York City. And they will look at things. The name of the system is called Trulio. It converts audio to text, scores every utterance for profanity, respect, legal compliance, and it will, I guess, generate a report based off of that. At LAPD, they have analyzes officer speech during traffic stops. And this is a partnership between USC and UCLA. And they're closely monitoring the police. In Paterson, New Jersey, computer vision summaries and professionalism dashboards. So they're monitoring the police, but come on, you be kidding and joking yourself if you think they're not taking the information off of the people too. Live sharing and fusion with fixed cameras, drones, hundreds of agencies integrating body cams into real-time crime centers. It stitches them together and they just create something for that. And so let me see what else I got here. So yeah, so bottom line, they are using police body cam video information, and all that is being fed into the system so that decisions can be made, so forth and so on. But as you know, as we talked about earlier in this video, these systems can make some serious errors, So the point of the matter is, the main point I want to drive here, the driving thing here is this, is that you have to be extremely mindful of the things that you put on social media. You're texting to one another, whatever. I mean, even talking on the phone, even when you're using things like ChatGPT or Grok or whatever, you got to be very mindful of that, of things that you're asking, things that you're posting and all of that, because there are systems that are collecting all of that data and they're creating these profiles of you. In fact, for example, ChatGPT, every conversation, every chat that I have on ChatGPT, let's say if I had a chat 5 weeks ago and I say, hey, you remember this conversation we had 5 weeks ago? And be like, oh, yeah, let me give you the highlights of that conversation. It saves all that. Now, do you think it's saved in a secret private chamber that nobody has access to? Please, they take that information and they sell it. You understand? And so same thing with your cell phone, Apple, Android, whatever, it doesn't matter. They're constantly collecting data and they're selling it to other agencies, especially like agencies like Palantir and all these other nefarious agencies that are out here that are collecting huge amounts of data. So again, as it pertains to black folks, the stuff that we have to learn not to be so careless on the things that we say and the things that we're posting on social media, because that, I'm telling you, is the contributing factor in how there's this slant that we see in AI technology that tends to paint black folks in a dimmer light. You understand? Because it's getting that data from somewhere. Where is it getting it from? Well, take a stroll down your timelines and you'll see where exactly it's coming from. A lot of it's coming from black folks. You understand what I'm saying? So this is why we have to become a lot more vocal when we see things. So, for example, when you see data, when you see information or videos or posts that are coming across your timeline that's offensive, especially to you as a black individual, one of the things I would suggest is you need to flag it. Let me give you an example. There was a couple of videos I've seen in the past where you have children, I'm not making this up, children, okay, literally, I have to say it, humping on grown black women, and they both up there dancing and everybody's cheering and all this other stuff. I've seen things like that come across my timeline. Do you just scroll and shake your head like, oh, this is crazy? Or what do? You got to flag it. Now, I'm not saying that's the silver bullet. Please, I'm not saying it. But this is how you use your voice in this space because now it's a data game. By saying, no, I don't approve of that. So what you're doing is you're adding some other data points in this system showing that not all black folks are with that kind of stuff. There is a significant demographic within black folks who don't co-sign on this stuff. That has to, and it must be acknowledged. You understand what I'm saying? So when you see these things, people saying stuff for whatever that, it's just, you need to flag it. You need to either flag it or just leave it all the way alone. When you hear different people up here that are always almost wanting death and destruction to happen all the time, you got to be very careful of that. Another thing I would suggest too is, and this is why I'm saying, especially you Hebrew Israelites, I want you to pay very close attention to me. All right? Because a lot of you get on social media and you say some very derogatory things about Jewish people. Now, before you jump into conclusions here, I am not saying that, they're God's chosen people and we can't touch them. I'm not saying that at all. I am not saying that, because I have my a great amount of criticisms for a number of those folks, okay? However, I have to be very strategic on how I communicate that. You understand what I'm saying? In other words, you're never going to hear me up here saying they need to all be struck down and they need to be flushed or whatever, and they need to go back to, it needs to be finished what started a few years. You're never going to hear me say anything crazy like that. I'm not going to be careless with my words on when I'm talking about that, because the truth of the matter is, at the end of the day, we're in their world. You understand? And so there are a lot of rules and laws that are in place right now that once they start up in this thing right now. We're already seeing this happen in these Ivy League schools like Harvard, you know, that you have people, if you're in this country, well, it's twofold. One, if you're in this country as a under a visa, and you're using this platform as a way to, you're using your platform at Harvard as a way to say how much you despise Jews and all this other stuff. Trump ain't playing. He getting you up out of here real quick. They getting you out of here real quick. If you are a resident, if you are a citizen of the United States and you're out there saying stuff like that, you getting out here real quick. And I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of black folks out here that say far worse when they're talking about that particular group. And they are literally setting themselves up for this same type of treatment. So my warning to you, if you like to listen to that kind of stuff, that kind of rhetoric, I'm telling you, we are in an age right now where you need to put a lot of distance between you and those individuals that like to go off like that. Again, let me be clear. I am not saying, oh, we got to tiptoe and don't say the truth. No, we're going to tell the truth. I'm going to tell you the truth. We're going to point out stuff, just like we point out stuff with everybody else. But we got to be wise, like someone just said. We got to be wise in how we say it, how we communicate it, right? And that's it. Now, if they're going to, you know, if they still going to ding you for that, then so be it. I'm telling the truth. But if you listen to what I'm saying, I'm not calling for any kind of riots. I'm not calling for anybody to be physically harmed or anything like that. But I am going to look at your history books and what your people say. That's the best way. If you want to criticize those folks, you got to go to them, because they will tell you openly exactly what they're about, what they believe in, and you just put it out there. That's the best way to do it. When you start adding some of this other foolishness and stuff like that, that you know is going to garner some other stuff, I'm telling you right now, you setting yourself up. So we're in a data war right now, where everything that we do, everything we say, every activity that we do right now, it's all being recorded. Shopify, for example, is a company. I was just reading up on them. They have recently, what was it, last year? They got in a whole lot of trouble because they were collecting data from different individuals and stuff without their authorization. All, you know, it was stuff going on that has gotten resolved thanks to this huge lawsuit that took place last year. But they're not the only company. There are many other companies as well that are doing this stuff all the time, and they will find other ways of doing it. Pretty much any platform on social media where you are making interactions with your credit card, I don't care if it's Amazon, I don't care who it is, they are collecting your data and they're using it. So it doesn't matter, right? So this is why we have to be very mindful of the things that we're doing right now on social media. But at the same time, now this adds another layer to what we've been saying, how we got to start separating ourselves from certain other people that look like you. This mindset that we have, that we all in this together, I'm rooting for everybody black. No, you are on your own, especially in this day and age. Don't tie me up with somebody that's calling death to America. I have strong opinions about America, but I'm not going to be careless on what I say. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's like people who, you know, in this state, for example, you can open carry or you can conceal. You know, if I have a gun, I'm not going to tell you. You know what I'm saying? You just don't want to find out. How about that? Okay, you don't want to find out. But I'm not a type of person that's going to be walking around like I'm Yosemite Sam and I got my guns out and all that. I'm not that kind of person. You know what I mean? I just keep everything on the low, out of the limelight or whatever, and that's it. I ain't trying to let nobody know anything. I just hope and pray you do not find out. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it at that. Okay, I'm just leave it at that. But you got people out here, you again, go look at a lot of the videos that unfortunately a lot of these young black men are showing off on social media. They're showing off look at all these guns I got. Yeah, man, look at you showing all your stuff off. And what's happening? Palantir, they just sucking all that data up and they're saying, yup, let's build a profile. Yup, a typical thug is going to look like this. And guess who's helping companies like Palantir to create these profiles? It's other black folks. Okay, so I hope this has been somewhat enlightening to what we've talked about here on this broadcast today. And I do hope you take it seriously. That hope you be even more vigilant in the information that you post, the things that you share on social media. And it's not just social media, even texting. If you think for one moment, whoever your carrier is, they're like, I'm not going to look at your text. I'm not going to look at your text. I'm not going to look at your text. If you think for one moment that's the case, please. That's why I don't get some of these people. They're going to take a whole picture of their bean. They're going to take a whole picture of it and send it off to somebody. And you think nobody's seeing that? They're taking that information and they're sharing it. And at some point, it will come to light. It will. You know what I'm saying? So take care of the information that you're putting out there. We got to be more vigilant, and we got to be even more aggressive in the information that we're putting out here. And we also have to distance ourselves from people who are careless in the things that they're saying and the things that they're putting out here, because it's going to also have an impact on you. You understand? So anyway, I hope you got something out of this broadcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have anything you would like to add to this conversation, go ahead and put it in the comments below, and let's chat about it. Okay. But also let's work together and being more vigilant in this day and age that we're in this age of AI. Okay. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. You guys take care, and we will be talking again soon.